You're listening to the Wellness Works podcast with Dr. Kris McClusky. This podcast takes you on a journey of lifelong health and wellness. We talk to top health experts and explore the real truth you're not always hearing about, the options you have to beat sickness and disease. And now, your host, Dr. Kris McClusky.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Kris. Welcome to another episode of Wellness Works. Again, this is Dr. Kris McClusky, your Metro East wellness expert and chiropractor. We've had such a successful run with this podcast, and the whole point is to help you all live a higher quality of life for as long as possible. And we want to give you workable tools. So we do these quick little 8 to 12 to 15-minute podcasts that you can listen to in your car on the way to work at the grocery store and really get something out of. It's going to be a transformational few minutes, and the information and knowledge that we've brought to this podcast has just really been second to none. I'm really excited about what we have for you guys today. We've got Dr. Steve Taubman on the line, and he's a best-selling author, actually a hypnotist, believe it or not, and a physician who offers a unique approach to unhypnotizing yourself. Now, we'll dive into that shortly, so don't get too wrapped up in those words because I think you're going to be surprised at what that actually means. But we're going to do it through a fun, interactive display that delivers an unforgettable educational experience and bottom line results. You can use this information to increase your quality of life right now. So, Dr. Steve, can you hear us?
I can. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Happy Tuesday. I was joking. They say this is Super Tuesday for us and all the reasons that are different than the politician Super Tuesday, right? We're actually doing things to create super results for individuals. So some irony there.
Yeah, it's definitely the best Tuesday all week.
You got that exactly right. So listen, let's just dive right into this. You and I found that we have common purpose and similar passions, though we have different tools that we use to help people. So tell us about the tools that you've developed that people can use to help increase their quality of life.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, my background is chiropractic. I had a chiropractic practice for many years with a strong holistic background, and I moved into a new world where I started doing entertainment as a hypnotist and a magician. And along the way, discovered that there's something very similar about being a chiropractor and being a hypnotist and even a magician, and that is, aside from the fact that the healing process itself is magical, is the fact that we are all capable of remarkable degrees of success and happiness when we remove the interference. And that's a holistic principle. As chiropractors, we talk about removing interference through correction of subluxation. In the world of hypnosis, we talk about programming. We talk about the way our minds have been programmed in such a way that we have limiting beliefs, limiting emotions, and a bad relationship with our own emotional body that keeps us stuck. So if we're a professional or an entrepreneur or a salesperson, we hit walls. We have a tendency to only go so far because something is defining the limits of who we are, what we can do. And what I've developed over the course of the last several years is a process. And the process is called the Unhypnosis process. It's based on my book on hypnosis, which was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And the concept is that we need to wake up from the hypnotic trance that we all spend most of our time living in. Is that true? I mean, we go through our day-to-day lives assuming that we're awake, but if you really break it down and look at how much of your waking life is, quote-unquote, fully awake, and how much is on automatic, how much of your time is spent, just you get in the car, you get home, you don't even know how you got there, you're talking to somebody, it's the same conversation you've had a million times, the same things irritate you, the same things aggravate you, the same things trip you up, you're still procrastinating, you're still sabotaging yourself. There are all these things that operate on automatic. And if you happen to be one of the lucky ones with really good programming, that automatic might serve you. But for most of us, that programming was not particularly empowering. For most of us, it's mental subluxation, if you will. It's a process that we've all gone through as we grew up that's created blockages, our ability to experience life fully. And as professionals, not only do I believe we have an obligation, but we have an opportunity to use the challenges we face, whether they be a sense of utility or, if you're a practitioner, that sense of insecurity that a lot of us have as practitioners, that kind of second-class citizen thing that happens to a lot of people who don't deserve to feel that way. It's possible to take all of that and literally evaporate it, literally dissolve it from existence. And it can happen very quickly, and it could happen very powerfully, and it could take people who are essentially stuck or operating on a particular level of success and give them a quantum leap to the next level.
That's incredible. So we've spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about the neurological component to health. And when you can release tension or a blockage in the nerve system, you can very quickly and immediately have an impact on the body. There's a little 2-week-old baby in my hands just a couple days ago who wasn't able to eat. The brain wasn't telling the mouth to latch and to suck and do these different types of things. And the baby is having a very difficult life. And by removing the interference, it took about 1 minute. The baby began to eat as a normal, healthy baby would. And that was so quick. And we talk about putting nutrients in your body from a biochemical standpoint. And when you do that, you have energy quickly, right? And so now we're hearing that you actually have a belief system that's going to have an impact on your health and wellness. And you have conscious
and what's interesting about that,
and subconscious. Isn't that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. So basically it's the exact same process, just at a different level of existence. So when we're releasing the potential through an adjustment, we're giving the body a greater chance of success and healing. And in the same way, when we do these processes with people, what might have been a very long, entrenched process can dissolve instantaneously. In fact, I was working with a guy yesterday who has what they call shy bladder syndrome. A lot of guys develop it early in lives, and they have a hard time going to the bathroom around other people. They freeze up, tense up. And we did a process with this guy, and within a minute, it was gone. Now, he'd had the problem for 40 years, and he said to me before he even started, he said, I have trouble believing that it's possible that something that's been with me for 40 years could just disappear that quickly.
I've seen those processes in action, and you are exactly right. It's incredible. I encourage everybody listening to this call to expose yourself, witness kind of this happening. Do you have any resources that you can send people to where they can actually see with their own eyes what you're describing? Because this is not normal stuff, and it's probably hard for people to actually believe. Am I right? So let's put this into something we can see, feel, touch, or hear.
Absolutely. So you guys, if you're listening to this, one of the things you probably want to start by doing if you want to sort of enter this world and begin to understand it a little better, on my website, which is stevetaubman.com, you can join my mailing list at the bottom of the homepage. Now, when you do, you have access to what's called the mindfulness assessment. It's a 10-question quiz. What it does is it gives you a customized report on your level of mindfulness. I use the word mindfulness a lot, and I like to define it quickly for you. Very simply, it means being present, being here now, not being stuck in the past or the future, and not being influenced by your old programming. It's being awake. And the relationship that we have to being awake has a direct impact on how successful we are and how happy we are. So the first place to start this process is to find out for yourself, where am I? Am I stuck? Am I closed-minded? Am I doing things on automatic, or am I more or less awake? And that's a great place to start. From there, you'll find throughout my website there are little videos of people having sudden epiphanies. Somewhere on there, you'll probably find the video of a girl who had been deathly afraid of snakes. We hypnotized her during a show and instantaneously had her fall in love with snakes. And she had a 9-foot python in her hands and was actually kissing it, which is a little weird. But
So you're saying it really works.
Oh, yeah, no, it really works. And when I work with professionals, right now I work with a lot of top professionals, whether they be chiropractic physicians or top business professionals or athletes or even actors. A lot of us are quite capable of being very successful. We have what it takes, right? We have the raw materials. We have the skills. We have the knowledge. We have the talent. What we lack is the flow.
Well, you got
the ability
that right.
to move toward our goals. So when we do these processes, I just worked with a guy who's a professional football player. Can't name any names, but you guys would know him. And he had what the athletes like to call the yips, which basically means it was just blocked. He's a talented guy who lost his ability to access his talent. Not unlike a talented physician who suddenly finds that they have a hard time being comfortable in the room with a patient or going out and doing a healthcare talk or whatever. It was just anxiety. It was blocking him. And we did a process. And again, the process is instantaneous. It doesn't require a lot of legwork on one's part. It simply is about what I call the 3 steps, which are relax, release, and reprogram. Relax, number 1, how do you quiet your mind? Most of us have no knowledge of how to quiet our minds. So our relaxation is always kind of half there. We're never fully relaxed. We're always engaging our subconscious mind. We're always chit-chatting to ourselves. Even when we're sleeping, we're still like watching the channel over and over again.
Right.
How do you turn the TV? Right. So how do you turn the TV off? How do you actually get that quiet-minded state? And that's one of the first steps that we help people engage. Second part is to release, which basically means Can you change your relationship with your anxiety or your fear or your tension or your anger or whatever it happens to be so that you can master it, so that you can release it and let it go rather than letting it run you? And that's a process that we, again, don't learn in our society. It's more of an Eastern kind of thing. How do you, number one, quiet your mind? And number two, notice when you're feeling something, and rather than running from it or letting it run your life, how do you simply witness it and quietly allow it to be and embrace it until it dissolves? And the third part, of course, reprogramming, which is where you utilize your imagination in a positive way, in a way that you're taking charge rather than letting it be on automatic. And that's the process, really.
That's very interesting, and this is very well thought out. This has obviously been something that's been proven successful time and time again. Dr. Taubman's been on MTV, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, CBS, I mean, you name it. So this is important information, not only to utilize yourselves, guys, but to share with your friends and your family. We're going to take a break here. Speaking of workable tools that we can actually use to improve our quality of life, it's time to pause for our Natural Mom Minute with Karen Acock. For those of you who've been on the cast, you know what this is, you're excited about it, and she's got some incredible information coming up. So Karen, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Kris. Today I have the Clean 15. These foods contain less pesticide exposure. Though buying organic in these is always a plus, you can save money on these because they're usually pretty clean. Avocados, sweet corn, pineapples, cabbage, sweet peas, onions, asparagus, mangoes, papaya, kiwi, eggplant, grapefruit, cantaloupe, cauliflower, and sweet potatoes. You know, avocados were the cleanest of all foods in conventional form, with only 1% showing a detectable trace of pesticides. 89% of pineapples, 82% of kiwi, 80% of papaya, 88% of mango, and 61% of cantaloupe showed no residue of pesticide whatsoever. You might also love to know that not one single fruit from this list contained more than 4 types of pesticides. So when you need to save money, you can buy these conventional. Remember, guys, your health depends on you.
Fantastic, Karen. Thank you. Man, that was one of my favorites yet. You always deliver the goods, and you bring to the table things that families and especially mothers can use to create more health and wellness in their families. So, Dr. Steve, this has been an incredible podcast. You brought some awesome information, a great idea, and then you've got great tools that can be used to explore the idea. So, in closing, what is it that you'd like to leave the audience with? And maybe what would you like to ask them to potentially think about doing over the next 24, 36, 48 hours? I mean, we talked about taking the mindful assessment quiz. I think that's a great idea. But anything else you want to leave the folks with before we close up here?
Absolutely. One of the quickest ways that I find one can begin to develop one's consciousness and get out of the habitual patterns of your mind is to use your upsets in a positive way. So what I'm going to recommend and encourage everybody to do are actually 2 things. Number 1 is see if you can attempt the process of meditation. Just learn how to get quiet. We can teach it to you. We can certainly guide you through that process. But even simply sit quietly, feel your body in the chair, feel your feet on the floor, feel your hands on your lap, and get out of your head and into your body in the moment. Out of your head, into your body. That's a very powerful tool. Second thing that I'd recommend you do is the next time you feel any kind of discomfort, whether it be fear, anxiety, anger, or whatever it is, rather than assuming that it's bad and you got to run from it, think of it as a very wonderful gift. Like, here I am having this feeling right now. What if I were to turn my attention away from the thing that caused it and allow myself to simply witness and observe the sensation inside of me? There's a transformative process that happens when you have the courage and the patience to sit in the presence of something uncomfortable. It dissolves, it changes, and it raises your consciousness level. So those 2 tools are very effective, and you'll probably find that they'll give you a sense of freedom throughout the day.
And that is great advice. The second part of that parallels some of the great advice. Some of the one doctor in particular had a really strong impact on my career. When you call it, in our society, we call it getting sick, right? It's when a virus or a bacteria sort of challenges your immune system, and most of us run to the drugstore or run to the doctor or, we do these things. And he taught me that when your body's talking to you, be still and accept it and absorb it. And I thought he was crazy. I didn't know what he was talking about, but he said, feed your body with pure water and put some whole nutrients in it and just lay down and just get through it. And he taught me some different meditations and things. But what a powerful way to recharge the body. And what I found is that those little immune system challenges that I call them, the body can get through those in about 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 hours, no matter how severe it is, if you really just let it happen. So it's just interesting you give that advice, because we talk to people about that all the time, is that immune system building experiences, or being sick, quote unquote, is actually an opportunity to heal. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. It raises so many things. We could probably go on and on for hours, but I really appreciate the opportunity to share.
I'd love to have you back on maybe to talk about some more specific topics and subjects. This is a great kind of get to know Steve Taubman section, and I have a feeling we're going to be working together on different projects in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been an incredible podcast. Again, go to drstevetaubman.com. That's Taubman, and just poke around. It's pretty cool stuff. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We know you're very busy. God bless you. God bless all of you listeners out there. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, let's make it a great week, full of healing and full of experiences. And you guys can tune in again next week on our Wellness Works podcast. Thank you guys. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wellness Works with Dr. Kris McClusky. If this message spoke to you, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share with a friend or loved one.